talk about the marriage between standardization and problem solving. We're not going to spend a lot of time on standardization throughout this course because there's a lot that we included in this book. There's a lot we had to trim from this book, and standardization is something where we can end up in the deep end of the pool pretty quickly. And there's also a lot already written about and taught about standardization. But it's fundamental to understand that standardization and problem solving go together all the time. There's a marriage and a linkage between these two core concepts. Toyota Production System founder Taiichi Ohno is noted for saying, "Where there is no standard, there can be no Kaizen." Kaizen is a word that means improvement or continuous improvement, which also can translate to problem solving. And so what he's saying is that you have to start with a standard and then improve or problem solve from there. Now, when we coach especially our leaders on how to engage the organization in problem solving, when something goes wrong, I believe there are three important questions to begin before you get even started with problem solving. First, is there a standard? If there's not a standard, it's going to be really hard to say, what is the gap to standard? Right? So we have to understand, is there already a standard? Second, did we follow it? Well, if we didn't follow the standard, of course we're not going to get the result we expect, and that's the problem we should probably solve, is why didn't we follow it? Why couldn't we follow it? And then third, and only then, can we improve it? Right? If we have a standard and we followed it, and it produced a result other than what we wanted, now we have an opportunity to improve through some more structured problem solving. Now, all three of those are gaps, which means all three of them can be their own problem solving effort. The first gap is we don't have a standard. The second gap is we didn't follow the standard. The third gap is that the followed standard produced an undesired result. But this helps us frame the problem from the outset, and all built around the concept of standards as a contributor to performance and a relationship to problem solving. The key is we should know what gap we're closing before we jump into problem solving, because fundamentally that's what problem solving is. Now, why standardize? Many people treat standardization as just a good thing. And this might be true, but it's actually very weak in terms of our ability to leverage it to drive the right outcomes. We should know why we're standardizing something in particular in order to take it in the right direction or to take it to the right level of depth. Now, the first is simply performance gains. If I have somebody that can perform a task in 5 minutes and somebody else that can perform it in 15, is that simply about leveraging the best methods? So when we have known best methods that we can standardize to, we pull everybody to that best known method, and that allows us to get performance gains across a population. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is to be able to spot problems or abnormalities. How do I know when things are off course? If I have a standard, if I know how things are supposed to work, when they cease to work that way, when we have a deviation, now I know I have a problem. And so providing that baseline of standardization allows us to spot problems, to spot abnormalities. The third reason is that it avoids the duplication of work or reinventing the wheel. If we said that everybody in our organization should train on cybersecurity or ethics or something like that, and every team in our company invented their own way to do that training, well, that's just a lot of redundant work. That's just a lot of wasted resources. We can leverage a lot by not reinventing the wheel, by leveraging work that's already done and starting from that point. So eliminating that waste is a third reason that standardization can benefit us. Fourth is it allows us the flexibility of resources. I can move resources around and insert them into tasks or into teams much more easily if I have standards in which I do that. So allowing flexible resources, allowing us to move around and plug into work, to move from one task to another, makes it a whole lot easier if I can learn that process through standards. So standards allows us to provide that flexibility of resources. It also enables shared resources. So if I'm an individual that has to work with 5 different groups, and every time I work with 5 different groups or 5 different sites or 5 different teams, the interface is different, the underlying structure is different, that makes that shared resource have a lot less efficient. So anytime I have shared resources, how they engage and what they engage in across many different organizations starts to become a benefit of standardization. And last, enabled leveraged shared learning. If we all have a standard in which we do things and somebody finds a learning, finds an improvement, finds a new way, if others don't have that same standard, that learning cannot be leveraged across the team. And so where we have that opportunity of leveraging our shared learnings really depends upon having standards. Now I share these specific reasons because, again, standardization as its own benefit isn't really a good argument. We should be clear and articulate about why we are standardizing, if for no other reason that standardization takes effort. What's our return on investment for that effort? Well, it's really hard to figure that out unless we know why we're doing it, unless we know the gains that we have. So we won't talk about standardization every single time we talk about problem solving, but it's important to understand the marriage between standardization and problem solving. And we've hopefully summarized that for you well in this video.